In this video, we're going to be exploring the piano roll in FL Studio, which is where you're going to be composing most of your melodies. In order to open up the piano roll, first of all, you have to have an instrument to be composing with. So here's the channel rack, and I need to add an instrument to the channel rack. So I'm going to right click on it, replace with, let's go with FL keys, generic sounding instrument. Okay, now I'm going to right click and go to piano roll. That's how you open it up. So this is the piano roll. If yours is smaller, just click on the resize and that should make this full screen. So this is the piano roll. This is what you're going to be looking at a lot of the time. You can add notes by left clicking. You can remove notes by right clicking and dragging across the note. If you need to cut the note in half, there's a feature here. Right here, this is the slice tool, and it allows you to chop notes up in half. If you need to mute a note, you can double right click and that will mute the note. So now if we were to play this, and you can bring it back by doing the exact same thing. So double right clicking. Okay. Let's talk about how to copy. You need to learn how to copy notes. So if I go to here, I'll bring up the edit, and you can see that there's a bunch of similar controls that you might have seen before in a Word document. So for example, to cut is Control X, to copy, Control C, paste, and duplicate is the one that I'm used the most of the time. That's Control B. So first of all, I guess we need to learn how to select the notes. So to select the note, you hold down Control, left click, and that will select the note. If I want to select more than one note, let's say I've selected these two notes and I need to select another one, I go Control, Shift, and then click on the note I want to add. It's also the same way to deselect. So I can, once again, hit Control, Shift, and then click on a note, and that's going to deselect the note. Okay. How do you zoom in and out? Well, let's say I have a bunch of notes all over the place, and I want to see what it looks like from a larger view. I can hit Control and then right click with my mouse, and I will zoom out to provide the optimal view. If I've gone down and I hit Control and right click, once again it'll readjust to finding the optimal view. If you want to see a larger scale, you can also play around with this knob up here and it will adjust the view. But I don't really play with that. I just hit Control, right click, and it'll find everything for me. Also, you can hit Control and then Alt A, and that'll select everything. Sometimes I do this. What if I want to play just a small section of these notes? So I want to play from here to here. How do I do that? Well, I hold down Control and then left click on this timeline, and I can drag however long I want to be playing for. So now if I hit play, it's only going to play within this section here. And then it'll loop back to the beginning. Okay. What's this thing down here? Well, this is the velocity. And it's similar to volume, but it's a little bit different. And I'm going to illustrate that in a second. So let's add some notes here. Whoops. So this is the velocity. I can decrease the velocity or increase it. And the reason it's different than volume, you can left click here and you can see there's several different options. is that when you're playing with certain instruments, the velocity might actually change the way the instrument sounds. For example, it might be more intense if you're playing a violin than a velocity that's lower, whereas volume is only how loud and quiet it gets. All right, let's talk about some of the other options up and above. So at the top, you also have the ability to look at scales. By clicking this button here, you can see all the different scales that you could ever want. And there's a lot to choose from. Let's say I want a blues scale. Let's see. So if I click on that, and I click on any of these notes, it will find the blues scale for that. So these are the notes that are in the blues scale for 1 octave. Not the greatest, but you get the idea. It's a really handy way just to see what notes are in the scale right away. Something else that you're going to want to know about is the magnet here. And this is how big and how zoomed in are you going to be able to interact with the notes. So let's say I want to make a note, but I want to make it in between this beat here. How do I do that? Well, you play with this magnet here, and it allows you to make changes to smaller increments. So now I can make an increment halfway, and I think you can even go smaller than that. Yes. So that's available to you. Sometimes I choose none as well if I want to have some random variation, just to play around with it. Then you can literally choose any point. All right, and the last thing that I want to mention is something called ghost notes. And this is extremely useful once you get the hang of using piano roll and using multiple instruments. So first of all, you have to enable that ghost notes. So go to here and click on view. Make sure that, oh, not view, helpers perhaps? Yeah, helpers. And here's ghost notes. Make sure that you have this available. Editable is up to you whether you want that or not. So now if I have another instrument, I'm going to bring up the channel rack, and I'm going to, I'll just clone this for now. Actually, no, let's make this a different instrument. Let's make this a boo bass. Sounds like a Seinfeld instrument. I'm going to right click, go in the piano roll of the boo bass. So if I'm playing this, what if I go into the piano now, away from my bass instrument? I can actually see the bass notes, and it's really helpful if you're trying to make the timing similar. Okay. If you do choose to use none for your magnet, and you're all over the place, and then you change your mind about the scaling, or you're recording with a MIDI keyboard or something else, and you don't have precise timing, sometimes you'll see that this is actually slightly out of the beat. So what you can do is you can select all the notes, or the notes that you want to adjust. I'm just going to adjust a few of these. Then you can go to File, Edit, Tools, and then there's Quantize. And what it will do is it will lock the note to the start time of the step that you choose. So you'll see what I mean when I hit this. So you see it's automatically adjusted. Yeah, right there. And if you're wondering how I'm doing this right here, I'm just doing undo and redo. So do edit here. You can see undo is Control Z, and redo is Control Alt Z. But undo is usually all you need. Actually, no, I use both of them. Okay, so we've covered quite a bit in this video. We've talked about how to get into the piano roll, how to move notes around, shift notes, and looked at some of the features above and top, how to snip, how to use the magnet tool, how to use scales, and finally how to use ghost notes. Alright, that's enough for this video. We'll see you in the next one.